So I'm a pretty big fan of the channel NerdSync, because I really, really like what they do, and I guess part of the reason I like what they do is because I attempt to do the same thing just on a shittier production level and shittier scale. The motto of the channel is read between the panels and grow smarter through comics. Scott and other people on the channel take comic books and things surrounding nerd culture and use them to explain concepts, music theory, color theory, etc., etc. I tend to talk more about science fiction on this channel, I think, because science fiction is a great place to explore ideas that may be unpalatable if you were to actually say them. Star Trek is a good example where you couldn't have an interracial kiss, but you could have a episode where being black on one side as opposed to black on the other side was an unconscionable crime against humanity. But in this case, I do kind of want to delve particularly into comic books, specifically the X-Men, mutants, and unfortunately the comic book version of Civil War. See, a lot of people latched on to the idea of mutants as allegory for the LGBT community, and I can understand where that comes from. The problem is that most of the mutants that we get to follow in the X-Men are powerful. They can change the world. I tend to feel more like I'm an average citizen in the Marvel universe. And yeah, there are mutants without powers or useful powers or people who are just quote-unquote disfigured or whatever, who are visibly a minority and receive hate for it. But I think what I'm latching onto here is more akin to the fact that any civilian can have their house randomly knocked over in the middle of a superhero battle. Civil War begins because a team of superheroes filming a reality TV show failed to stop a guy who explodes and kills a bunch of people, including children. Now, the civilian population, the quote-unquote normal people of the Marvel Comics universe, are incensed, and this is justified. Yes, they go too far, but a lot of that comes down to the actions of people like Iron Man, people who either have powers or the ability to create technology to mimic powers. The climax to this miniseries is that Captain America, who has finally beaten down the fascist Iron Man, is about to deliver the finishing blow, and he gets stopped by civilians. And he doesn't understand why, until they point out that, they've wrecked several city blocks in the middle of this fight. And apparently, civilians don't like having their homes wrecked, their entire lives destroyed by people who don't give a fuck. A lot of people were angry that Captain America then turns himself in, but the line that he says to, I think it was Falcon at the time, the line that he says really stuck with me. We're not fighting for the people anymore, we're just fighting. And why does that stick with me? Because this is a brilliant comic with a brilliant ending? God, no. This is a horrible, ham-fisted comic that turned everyone you know into some sort of mockery of everything they were. But that line resonates with me because that's what I deal with every day. People who have more power than me debating my existence, my life, my rights. In a fair, or perhaps even in a just world, we would see things happen differently. People would be given rights automatically without these debates. People would be treated as human beings without debates and laws and regulations. But in this world, we often see a bunch of people on both sides who have the power talking about and over the people who are at issue, the minorities. And I don't just mean LGBT groups, because we talk over black people, we talk over Hispanic people, we talk over religious minorities. Civil War's climax is basically, to me, a good analog for what often goes on in discussions revolving minority or disadvantaged individuals' issues, because it often leads to a shut up, let the important people talk mentality. And while ostensibly the people who are in question, us, should be the important ones, that's not who they're talking about. They're not fighting for the people anymore. They're just fighting. Thanks for listening. Amaranth out.